Recording in progress. Hey friends, how you doing? Ernie here, and with me today is Sandra from Trading Made Simple. That's the website is tradingmadesimple.org, and also the YouTube channel Trading Made Simple, and Options Sandra or Options Sandy, which is
Options Sandy, options_Sandy on Twitter.
on Twitter. There you go. And she has, I guess we met in a kind of a collab with a fellow Discorder.
Yes.
And Brian Carnes on Magic 8 Ball. And he brought us all together, and a bunch of other people who are influential in options trading and other types of trading, I guess. I haven't really figured that all out, what his purpose was there, but I think he wanted to get a lot of people in there that had some good ideas.
Yes.
And to act as like coaches or something to the...
Yeah, I think his background is the engineering aspect of that software and fits right in line with what we're doing.
So we're giving a shout out to Brian as well, because that's how we met.
Yes.
And he runs a Discord called Magic 8 Ball. And that is a technology that he develops that kind of predicts where the market may be going. And so, yeah.
I want to know that.
Yeah. I don't know if it works or not. There are so many people that have created stuff like that, and everybody's trying to come up with a new tool or a new indicator to try to guess where the market's going. Do you know where the market's going? Because I have no idea.
No. No.
You have an options service. Why don't you describe what it is? Introduce yourself and then tell us what it is that you do.
Sure. My service is about providing tools to traders. Some of the tools are like option flow data that we use to not only give us trade ideas, but also to see where the big institutions are placing their trades. And then we also have, as you mentioned, like the X prediction tool. We just got a gamma as well, a gamma hedging tool to see where the market makers are hedging their trades because they're taking in all the money from the retail traders. And so these are some of the tools along with education. And we have a couple pro traders in our Discord that post their trades as well for trade alert ideas. And really something that just started with options education has grown into a service providing trader tools, alerts, education. And it's a great community.
That's what I had noticed, that it's like an aggregate of all of these different services that are providing signals, right?
Yeah, I feel like everyone is on 25 different Discords. And as they're clicking through these Discords and reading conversations or looking for tools, the first 90 minutes of the day has gone by, and then you lose your opportunity. You lose your edge as an options trader to make some of those trades.
And what do you do? Provide some sort of orchestration there?
Yeah, I think that was the thought was, hey, if we can get a lot of the tools in one place, then you're staying focused. And I think staying focused, being prepared, having the information at your fingertips is helpful to a trader.
Is there any kind of underlying philosophy that you have for options trading, or some kind of, what is your genre?
My genre really is Options 101. No secret sauce, baby. Just you need to learn, right? Vehicles that are used for trading in order for you to take advantage of what the market may be doing at the time. It's nice to be able to predict, but no one's got that secret sauce yet. And I think that people are getting close to trying to develop strategies with that information to provide them opportunities to succeed. And I think that's what we're all trying to do as options traders. The foundation to me, of course, is education.
So that's how you started. You started by saying, hey, I have this educational service, come over here, I can help you out. So you were attracting maybe newbie options traders, and then you started realizing, hey, there's all these great tools that we can start looking at, and these are opportunities, and then you guide people through that?
Yeah, I was just creating videos really on automation. I'm a big trade automation person, and I think there's so many benefits to that for people that are going to school or work. And so that's actually how I started, was just doing free videos and answering people's questions and email. And it got so busy that I started Zooming and teaching education. And I think one of the things that I often see is people providing a secret sauce.
Yeah.
And then I just laugh because it really isn't secret. It's Options 101. But if you have a formal training in it, then you know that it's just industry standard information. But a lot of people do not.
So there are different styles of trading options, right? You can, I guess the most popular these days is the tasty trade way. Would you say that you're in line with that, or is it something different? Is there
No,
a certain strategy, selling, being a net seller or a net buyer of options that you prefer, or looking at impactful events, or what is it that you think where the majority of the edge is?
I actually was an option seller first 15 years of my trading. And I was working full time. And so I was able to do that with automation. And it provided nice income to do that with. However, now that I recognize I'm not working, I'm retired, by the way, and I'm doing this full time, I really recognize that that's not my preferred way anymore. I really am an options buyer, and I like to use spreads because I feel that they're more flexible with our market environment sometimes.
So
Helps
you're
us to
waiting
do a little
for,
bit more.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
So you're waiting for events, things that are going to move the market and then jump on that momentum?
Yeah, I think as trend traders, momentum is important, especially for options. People that like to trade derivatives, we like volume, we like movement. Yeah, earnings events, FOMC, these types of events don't scare us. They're actually, we invite that type of movement so that we could take advantage of it.
So do you have different approaches for companies versus indexes versus maybe ETFs? Is there something that you gravitate towards?
No,
Like, what's your watch list?
no, my watch list is the typical popular names that people know. Meta, of course, we always keep track of the ETFs, to know where the Q or NQ or SPX or SPY is going. These are important to keep track of so that you can identify when there is a breakout or when the market's trending. But typically speaking, the market's not trending. And a lot of people don't know this. And so what ends up happening is they're getting into a trade vehicle that's not going to move very much. And in order to profit, sometimes you need it to move. And just again, it's like this totality of information that you have to be able to identify what the market's doing in the morning and then take a trade with the knowledge that you have and say, oh, the market doesn't seem like it's trending very much. Maybe I should get into a trade vehicle like a debit spread, as an example, versus a straight call or a straight put. So things of that nature, I think, are important for a trader. But I think one of the hardest things for a trader is really to find that vehicle that they feel confident in, that they recognize it's a good trading strategy for themselves. Like you, for example, it sounds as if you've been trading for a while and you really have found this vehicle as being something that really resonates with you. And that passion of finding something that's working for you is probably the toughest thing to identify as a trader, especially as a new trader, because you have all this information coming in from all over the place and you're learning bits and pieces about different strategies. And it starts to unfortunately become confusing. And I think that's where a coach comes in to help you with those processes.
In terms of time frame, obviously you're not short term then. You're not like a day trader, or is it
Oh, I
more?
do it all. I'm a
Oh,
swing trader,
really?
day trader. Yep.
So whatever's coming down the pike that you can make money at.
Yeah, again, I think having, for me, this is my opinion, right? This is the way that I trade. Everything that's important to me is really just about knowing a couple strategies that I can use in different market environments. One of my favorites is the butterfly. I think
Hmm.
that's where we connected because I know
Yeah.
that it's one of your favorites. In fact, what a big surprise. A lot of people, before the zero DTE came into effect, a lot of people really didn't talk about the butterflies while I was talking about butterflies. And it's a great trade vehicle because it works with theta, it works directionally. Um, I don't know. It's just one of those vehicles I think that's going to become more and more popular. And I think you're making it more popular as well with your strategy. I love it.
My main stick, so to speak, isn't really like an alert service like yours or trying to teach more basic. I'm more into the coaching aspect, and I wanted to choose a strategy that I felt like and just focus on one thing to make it easy to teach
Yeah.
people. And if I was going to teach anybody anything, I wanted to use something that uses all of the, I say, the edges that I think are that just stand above everything else, like asymmetry and premium collection. And what better day to do premium collection than the zero DTE? So that's
Right.
why I brought all that together. And then the biggest thing with, in these days, you hear these studies talking about how day traders are really underperforming, and 98% of day traders fail. There was a study that came out of, I think, Brazil, where they followed, I think, 300,000 day traders over a period of 5 years. And ultimately, not everybody failed immediately. Some people it would take a year or two, but ultimately everyone would fail. And day trading obviously is real big in the industry here. And there's always a new guru coming up with a new strategy and so forth. And I've been a professional trader and institutional trader and hedge fund manager. And so what I saw on that side of the fence
Yeah.
is almost the exact opposite of what a retail trader does. And
Right.
so I just felt, and believe it or not, the butterfly is like a favorite of a lot of professional traders. And
Is that right? I
yeah,
did not know that.
they like it for the asymmetry mostly, and they use it as a directional strategy. And that's another thing that most people that are retail hardly ever use it as a directional strategy.
Yeah, they think it's all neutral and it's not.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why I picked it up. And if I was going to do something, let's show them what pro does and teach them how to do that. So what do you do during times? Obviously, volatility is so important to us because we need to see that signal, and it needs to rise above the noise so that we can catch a wave or attach ourselves to something. What do you do? What do you do when volatility is lagging?
When it's lagging?
Yeah, when we're getting there. It's dropped below 20 on the VIX. And remember a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago, it was
We're
like
above 20 on the VIX. Are we?
Right now we are, but I'm saying steadily we've been falling, and it's possible that we could, let's say if we go on a nice bull run here, it could fall even further.
Okay.
But if you recall, just a couple of years ago, we had a VIX below 17, even as low as 15.
Yes.
What do you do? What's your strategy
Broken wing
then?
butterflies. Do you like
Really?
the broken wings?
I do.
SPX broken wing butterfly, great way. Yeah, that was for the market conditions when the VIX is under 20. It was a great way to actually you're selling premium. It is a bigger risk versus reward. However, because it was just so steady, it was a nice weekly income that you could just in and out every 8 days. I have a video on it. SPX broken wing butterfly income. Yeah, when the VIX is under 20. I like it.
Trading Made It Easy on YouTube.
Trading Made Simple, and I do make it easy though.
Trading Made Simple on YouTube.
How about you? You could actually use the butterfly for really any strategy, whether the volatility is low or not.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you're using a directional butterfly on the 0 DTE, volatility is important in order to get good pricing on your fly, but it's all relative, where volatility is and where it's going. So even if it's low, as long as it goes up a little bit or down a little bit, that change is what's really important. And when you're trading the 0 DTE, you're really trading that last few hours. So you can get in the morning, and then volatility has no effect after you get past noontime. It's all about time. Because no matter what, premium is going to zero. You can't stop it. Right. So you could put on a big wide fly and you might have incredible potential. And volatility will have zero effect from, say, 2:30 to closing. However, your premium is going to go to zero, and you're going to be able to capitalize on that.
If it's going in your direction, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what we did. Now we have two different strategies that are both based on the butterfly. We have, and I heard you mention it just the other day on your channel, where you're talking about the Batman.
Yes.
Yeah. So the other one we have, I call it the classic butterfly, the classic out of the money butterfly, and the single fly. And that's what we use during low volatility areas. And we use it as a directional strategy. And that works great because during low volatility, the market's essentially going up. They're not going down. And then when the market or the volatility regime changes and we get above 20 or something, anywhere from 17 to 34, I guess, is my range. I call it the Goldilocks zone. Then we switch to a different strategy because then choosing direction becomes kind of a challenge. So we do this Batman strategy where we put a fly above the market and below the market, and then basically give up and say, hey, we have no idea where the market's going.
And I like how truthful you are about it. You're absolutely right. We don't know where the market's going to be going. And I think that's a great way to take the human emotion out of it. That's what usually gets us into trouble a lot is our human emotions. And I think that asymmetry aspect of it is an interesting strategy to take the human emotion out of it. You're going to do one above and below. It's definitely going to be very profitable if it hits.
I think there's also a need for people to want to be right. right?
Yes.
So they think that they can tell which way the market's going, and if it's not going that way, there's always an excuse why. It's not them. There was something that happened. Oh, that never
A
happens.
very good point. Yes. And they're waiting for that turn.
Yeah,
And they're hoping for that turn. And then once that word hope comes about, just forget it.
because I felt that when I first started this service, I've been doing this now for about 21 months or so. And so it was 2021 when the Fed was deep into their accommodative monetary policy and the market was going one direction after post COVID. And my strategy was four-pronged, and the first prong was to come up with a directional bias. Of course, the directional bias was mostly up, but I convinced myself that we were choosing the direction by doing all this very sophisticated geo-macroeconomic
Oh,
analysis.
okay.
And so every morning we would do that, and we would analyze the markets and all the market reports and say, oh, it's going up.
Oh, I
And
didn't
we'll
know
go that
this.
way.
Thank you.
And so that was all part of my strategy.
Okay.
And then when 2022 came around, what
Oh,
happened? January, just everything went to hell.
yeah. You wake up and the
Yeah.
market was going up.
And so I kept on pushing forward with the directional bias thing. And then about 2 months into it, realized that, man, we don't know where the hell it's going. So that's when we adopted the Batman.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I didn't know how that came about.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird because the market had for so long been in that accommodative mode where it was
Yes.
just going up, that it's not like I didn't know to do this, because as a pro trader before all of this Fed induced direction, and I was a hedge fund manager, we played both sides of the market, and but
Sure.
I'd gotten lulled into complacency. After
Yeah.
15 years, you just think everything's going in one direction or which direction it's going in. And by and large, you were right like 75% of the time, but you could have been right just by throwing crap against the wall. And so I lost perspective when I started the service, thinking that, hey, we can tell which way direction's going. And it took 2 months to, no, we don't really know what's going on. We got to have a little bit of hubris and just get into ourselves and say, look, the market is going to go wherever it goes. And so you need to come up with something that accommodates that type of situation, that character of the market.
I
And so
think
that,
that's an
yeah.
interesting perspective. It sounds like it's been working well for you.
Oh yeah, yeah, it works great. Now, what are some of the strategies that you find that are your favorites or your go-to strategies?
I think my go-to strategies really are about I love who doesn't love to scalp? I love scalping. I love scalping SPX.
What are the principles around scalping? I've
Well,
always
for me, you have to have the volume and the market has to be trending. And this is like very important. And because just earlier I said that the market doesn't typically trend all the time. In fact, it only trends about 15% of the time. But I have a lot of students, a lot of people come to me and they want to make a living out of scalping, and it's very difficult. And so as
you really have to invest a lot into it. You have to be on top of it all day, right? And a scalping strategy
oh,
is,
absolutely. But it's only not all day. Just the first 90 minutes is probably prime opportunity to scalp because you have the volatility there as an options trader. It's perfect for that.
all right, I got a question
Um,
for you on that one
sure.
point. So you're scalping in the first part of the day when you have the volatility up and you're doing okay, or maybe you're on a streak, and then all of a sudden you're on this little losing streak, and
Yes.
now you've lost your edge because it's entering that second half of the day, and you know that you should just quit and just stop.
Yes.
How do you get yourself to just walk away?
Yeah, that's one of the toughest problems for traders is recognizing when to quit, when to walk away. And hopefully, as people are getting an education in these different types of strategies and learning about trading, that they'll have a trade plan as well as rules that are in place that allow you to walk away. You don't follow those rules and you're not tracking your performance, then you're really putting yourself in the hole right from the get go. And you lose 3 scalps, it's time to walk away. Past that 90 minutes, time to walk away. And it is difficult. This is probably one of the hardest. In fact, I just listened to an interview on a guy that just finally, he's been trying to get prop approved for so long. And he finally was able to do it by only giving himself 3 trades, first 90 minutes, and he had to walk away whether he won or lost or it was a draw. It took him 5 weeks. Now, just imagine that as a scalper. You hear traders all the time trying to get prop approved, yet they want to do it within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. But I just love the fact that it took him a while to get into the groove. And he said it was one of the hardest things that he learned. And because of it, he's trying to create basically like an automatic algo bot to trade for him because it was just too hard for him to walk away. And I think when you hear traders say that, you recognize that those are the reasons why you have a trade plan, you have these rules in place, because you want to you want to keep learning and keep perfecting your strategy or your trading as a whole in order to proficiently get better and better. Because as you're getting better, you're making more money.
What do you do to perpetuate that or strengthen that will?
You have to follow your rules and tear away from the computer.
So
It's
you don't
very
have,
difficult to do
well,
that.
I go a little bit more holistic on stuff like that. So
Oh, do you? Are
yeah,
you
yeah.
doing some Zen?
Actually, yeah. Have you noticed the logo that I have, the
Yes.
circle, and then it has the DTE in the middle? If you look very
Yes,
closely at
yes.
the circle, it looks like an artistic swoosh. That's called a
Okay.
Zen. That's called a Zen circle.
Oh, I didn't know you were a meditator.
I am a actual practicing Zen Buddhist.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Why
Um,
do you have this calm? You always have this very calm and way about you. It's always enjoyable to talk to you. That's
oh,
probably why.
maybe, but one thing that I believe in wholly is that we all have these things that we're attached to, these habits that we get into, these
That's true.
bad ticks that we develop that take
Mhm.
us down bad paths. And we can easily go on tilt, if you're familiar with that term in card playing, like Texas Hold'em. A card player will make a few bad moves and then want to make up for it and then double down and then lose that and then everything
Yeah, we
just
call that revenge.
spiral. And those are things that start becoming habits in us, and that
Mhm.
are very difficult to break. And so in Buddhism or Zen Buddhism, there's a methodology that you use to help yourself. I guess the best way to describe it is to constantly fix the things that are wrong. And you have to look at everything in life as a process or a journey. And every once in a while, you have all of these different aspirations and your morality and your philosophies and everything. And they may be very clean and pure and everything, but every once in a while, they become dirty and corrupted by different thoughts that you have. And you need to recognize those and then fix them. I'm being very general here, but it could be something like you just establish a belief in the market that things should be that way. And there may be a root cause for you to believe that might not have anything to do with the market. Maybe you're just having a bad time at home, or
Hmm.
there's something bothering you about your health, or whatever it is,
Mhm.
right? And then finding out what that root cause is and then fixing it so that you can get back on the path is
Mhm.
important. And so when I look at things that I'm doing in the market and there's a clear divergence from how I would normally behave,
Oh, okay.
I need to figure out what is it that's causing me to feel that way or believe that. And so in Buddhism, there's they call it the Four Noble Truths. And it is like an agile process, continuous improvement process, but a lot of people don't really recognize that. But
Are you
essentially,
doing it at the time that you're trading? Or are you doing it at the end of the day as a reflection, or like when you're looking at your tracker or journal or?
it's an excellent question because it's not something that you can detect on the spot. It's something that you need to track and see yourself and then reflect back on a periodic basis. Like maybe once a week, you do some sort of reflection on what you're doing and then
Oh, nice.
recognize
Okay.
that you're getting off track. And the process essentially is saying, hey, look, the very first step or the first noble truth is that I recognize that I have so that's a very difficult thing for some people to come to grips with. But if things are going wrong, then you know that there's something wrong. You just don't know what
Right.
it is. But the first step is recognizing you have a problem and what it is.
Okay.
The second step is trying to find out what the root cause of that problem is,
Okay.
which is difficult in its own
Mhm.
aspect. Once you've found a root cause for it, then you need to develop a cessation or a plan for
Mhm.
changing that behavior. And that might be as simple as just creating a new habit. So for instance, if you found that you do X, that you behave Y, right? So you try to find a way to intercept those times when you do X and then replace it with something else. So you get a trigger and then you invoke another behavior, and then you should probably give yourself some sort of tangible reward that you do that. And then you do that over time, and that would affect that behavior. In theory, it would. The better you get at actually fixing those type of things, the easier it is to stay on that path.
Right.
So that's essentially what Buddhism is all about. It's the notice there's a problem, find the root cause of it, figure out what the fix to it is,
Right.
and then invoke the fix.
Got it.
The fix is pretty simple. The fix is this general, they call it the eightfold path. And I'll introduce it to you sometime, but I put it, now this might be getting a little bit out there because
No, but I can see the connection to trading. If you're trying to come back to it, I can see the connection to the trading.
In fact, I've created a parallel to it that is all in terms of trading.
Okay. Okay.
There are some parallels, but there are also some things that are right in line, because trading and any kind of thing that you do for a job or interacting with people, it's the same moralities and philosophies that you would apply no matter what you're doing, whether you're trading or going to the store or interacting with people or whatever.
And sometimes finding the problem becomes easy, and it's really the fix. I think that's the toughest part of that.
I would say before you get
for
to the
me
fix.
anyway.
Yeah, before you get to the fix, it's really
Okay.
understanding what the root cause is, because sometimes you do a fix that is fixing not the root cause. It's fixing, or it becomes like a Band-Aid to, So finding the root cause.
I would say that, that's interesting to think of it in that way. I think being introspective, and as an example for a trader, looking at your trade logs, recognizing the days that you do well and what's wrong with the days that you're not doing so well. What's the connection with that? And then how can you fix it? And of course, your basic education and knowledge about the market, how can that help you?
So what we do is we make journaling a very big part of our trading. So every day you journal your trades, you grade your activity in the market, you look at what was the setup that I used, and grade it on something very simple. This is a very simple process. You grade it maybe on a 1, 2, 3 or an ABC type of grading. What was the market opportunity? How did I execute the trade? And then what was my mental acuity? What was my mental state at that time?
That's a great idea.
So you take those three things and you just do that every day. And then over time, you start accumulating some real data.
Right.
And then you make it a habit that at the end of each week, you perform what we call a retrospective, where you look back on everything, look at your data. Now, 1 week, you're not going to see very much, and even after 2 weeks. But once you start getting 3, 5, 20 weeks, you can start seeing patterns in your behavior.
Right.
And,
as well, yes. Yeah, you call it behavior, and it really is your trading behavior, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And then from there, then you can start identifying when you are getting off track. And now the next step is then figuring out what the root cause is.
That's interesting. No, it's very similar to what we do as well. We do track our trades. We journal about what type of strategies we're taking, what worked, what didn't. I think the important thing too is, like, when you have enough data, you can look back. Some people will say, "Oh, I had a terrible week. This isn't working," as an example. And so, wait a minute, look at your, as you would say, your journal, your tracker. This is 1 week out of several months. What's your ROI doing? This is not now your new, this isn't something that
could be an anomaly sometimes. And then other times you start seeing a real pattern.
Yes. Yes. And I think that, like you said, that revenge trading is a big problem with a lot of people, and too many trades. I often say that your ROI is going to be better if you don't trade as much. Be picky and choosy about the waves you take, because this is a longevity thing. This isn't a marathon. This is a marathon. It's not a quick sprint, but it's instant gratification. And so it's difficult when you have instant gratification. And then, of course, it's in your living room or it's in your office every single day. So I think that hopefully being introspective, being more Zen-like, reviewing your data will help you make better decisions. That's what we're all trying to do each and every day.
And so the other thing that we do, or that I profess, I'm not saying that everybody follows exactly what I do. I introduce the concepts to people, but
that's a great concept.
But being able to act in a way that has at least a way that you can be introspective, that you can step back and see what you're doing. You have to almost take a detached view of yourself in order to be able to recognize whether or not you're behaving poorly or not, because otherwise you're steeped in your own dogma. So what I suggest that people do is that, first of all, they need to have the physical and mental capability of doing that. And they need to train themselves to be able to look at themselves objectively. And a lot of that is through the control of your own mind. And that's where the meditation comes in. Also, where being in the best mental and physical shape that you can possibly be in.
Yeah.
Like one of the first things that I tell everybody when they join the service is that you have to be obsessed with your process, even your daily process, and how you approach the beginning of the day in particular, getting your mind straight before you even get on. And what I mean by that is maybe performing a little exercise, maybe some stretching, maybe a little breath work. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but to get the oxygen flowing, clear off your desk of any kind of obstructions, including any email or social media, so that there's nothing that's going to distract you, so that you can approach the day with total vision
Clarity.
and
Yeah.
clarity. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea
Oh,
because sometimes actually thinking too much, sometimes when we talk about analyzing data, a lot of traders in our community, we like to analyze data. I think traders for the most part have that engineering type of mind where they are analyzing data. They're analyzing market data, but you bring a good focus to, yeah, start analyzing yourself and the reasons you're making these decisions. And that's a good exercise, definitely.
yeah. And I think that it's probably even more important than the analyzing of the data, because until you can have that clear mind, your perception of what the data is may be completely obscured or
Absolutely.
obfuscated. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, so we all have biases. It's hard to check them at the door, but it is so important. And I recognize that's another thing a lot of people really enjoy as an example, reversal plays. And so as they're watching the market and they're analyzing the market going up, they keep anticipating a reversal. And that anticipation for the reversal, they keep getting faked out and they keep losing. And at some point you have to say, stop anticipating the reversal. Wait for the reversal. You know what I mean? And these are great lessons. I'm glad that you're covering all this more of an introspective way. It seems like very good coaching.
Oh, thanks. But when you said that anticipating a reversal, that's an example of an attachment that I would identify. And then being able to recognize that you're fixated on what you believe should happen
Right.
or what the market should give you.
Yeah, there are different types of traders, and we have to recognize that even when I say that to people in my community, we have to recognize that people develop their own styles and their own strategies. And if that works for them, that's great. And the only way that you can recognize that it's not working is to track it, to have that data available so that you can review it and then recognize from your own notes and performance what was the issue here and here, and then make that connection. A lot of people just get into trading and they're really not really focused on that stuff. It really more is, it almost seems like it's like gambling. And I often say, hey, look, we go to Vegas as an example once or twice a year to have some fun. But when you're sitting at your desk and you're doing this, and this is a marathon, this is every day that we're doing this, or maybe a couple times a week, or your program is for your trading strategy. And here, no one's giving you a cocktail, no one's buying you dinner, and they're not going to comp your room. Within minutes, you can be violated and you need to walk away from the computer or have your rules in place, because we're not on vacation. But a lot of people tend to look at trading like it's a lifestyle, it's a form of a way to make quick money, and it's not easy. And I wish all the infomercials with the Lamborghinis and the money falling from the sky would stop, because it's not real.
Well, I think what a lot of people misconstrue about trading is that all you need to have is the right strategy and then just start implementing it. And that couldn't be further from the truth, because let's put it this way. If I told you that, hey, the best way to make a living is to become a pro baseball player, all you have to do is learn the rules and then get on the field and play it. You will become a star.
Exactly.
Who believes that? Oh, no, that is absolutely hogwash. But that is no different than becoming a pro trader.
Yeah, but of course, you won't know until you actually learn the information by the strategies that you're suited towards.
So even identifying the strategy and knowing the strategy isn't
Yeah.
enough. It's actually going through and developing the muscle memory and then the context in which you're trading, how you feel about it. Every aspect of that trading thing that you're doing is important. And if you don't have that built into yourself, you're not going to be able to perform the same way. It's going to be different every day. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't understand, is that the market is presenting a different context. It may be similar in some ways, but it's always different all the time. And so you need to be able to adapt to it. In order to adapt to it, you need to be grounded in some level of skill, of execution skill and mindset.
Yeah, we're trying to be professional traders here. It's like you and me going and getting golf lessons, and we have a passion for it. And are either of us going to make PGA? I'm just wondering.
And what makes somebody a good golfer?
Learning and practicing those
Practicing,
skills
right?
day in and day out. Oh,
Yeah.
God. I tell people a lot
How many
about my
people
history.
practice trading?
They don't, and they should. That's all you should be doing, is practicing trading. If you're just out there learning right now, you really need to practice. And oftentimes, by the way, this is a great, now that you say it as a trigger, sometimes when I recognize that this is paralysis, we all get it. Sometimes, by the way, professionals cannot perform at their pinnacle every single day. And yet we come, as a lot of traders do, come to the computer every single day thinking they're going to outperform that market. And you have to recognize that there are those times that you need to take a break. You need to regroup. You need to look at your practicing. Am I not executing properly because I don't know my platform well enough? I don't know how to execute the trade because I'm paying too much, as an example, I'm paying too much attention to what's happening somewhere else, and I'm not putting my efforts into this. We wake up every day, and you just have to recognize, when I start spilling my coffee right at the coffee machine, I go, oh.
Thanks for reminding me. I got my death wish coffee here.
I think you start dropping things. You're forgetful, you're just not on cue. Then recognize that and take an opportunity to get on simulation trading and just warm up and start looking at the market. And don't just get in and automatically assume that each and every day is a trading day, because it's just not.
Yeah.
I know for you and me, because we have people that are relying on us not only to coach, but to create trades and to explain these trades as we're creating them. We have to do this. It's part of what we do to help educate others. But it's very important for someone to recognize that if you're really wanting to master this, you need to practice like any pro athlete would, any professional wanting to get into a certain type of profession. What they do to prepare prepare themselves, prepare themselves before they even get into the position, and then they need to perform once they're in the position.
Yeah.
So a lot of work goes behind becoming a trader and being a successful one, and not blowing up your account. Please don't do that. Keep practicing.
I'm willing to bet that 95% of all traders don't do any practice.
That's a big problem.
It is a big problem.
When I originally learned how to trade, it was old school stuff in the late 80s, early 90s. And I had a coach. I paid for a program that, of course, DVDs and books and all that stuff. And then once a week, I got to talk to my coach on the phone. And then once a week, I got to drive 40 minutes to his office to watch him trade for 45 minutes, maybe. And you paid a lot of money to do it. So you did it. There was never a moment in that first year that I got to put on a real trade. It was all simulation. So I just wonder, and I tell my members this a lot. Could you imagine just learning and practicing for 1 year? Learning and practicing for 1 year, what that does to your confidence, for your education, just that within itself was just so valuable. And believe me, even after a year of practicing, boy, I've made every mistake.
Oh, sure. I'm gonna bring this to a different level, and I think that you'll be okay with it.
You sure about that, Ernie?
Money. What does money mean to everybody? Everyone has money, or some level. Some have a little, some have a lot, but it represents something. And some people might think that it's the root of evil, but it really isn't. It's a representation of something. It's like a store of value, of the value that you've provided in business and in your job and in whatever you do or did to earn that money. So it's a representation or a store of the value that you provided. In a lot of ways, the money itself is you, right? I know that sounds a little weird, a little out there because you don't want to associate yourself with that. It seems almost trite and maybe a little arrogant or whatever, but it does, that value that you accumulated represents the value that you traded somebody. You traded somebody with your effort to create that so that you could then use that for something, whether it was for your pay your bills, to live, or to buy things that you like, or just save for a rainy day, or to pass on to other people. It really means something. But what I find that so many people will go into the trading arena and then treat the money like it's won't think twice about risking $5,000 on something, then lose it, and then shake their head and go, all right, I lost it. And they may be really upset, but they'll come back and they'll do it again. Yet that same person will go to the store and kvetch over the difference between 20 hot dogs that are 25 cents more expensive than the other one.
I don't know why our brains do that. Sometimes that happens.
It's a complete, I don't know.
Kind of a dichotomy of such, yeah.
It really is. So that, bringing it back to the training and the practice and all of that, think about the real value that you're putting out there, or that you're controlling. That is you. That is, I don't know how else to explain that, but I mean, I'm trying to describe the importance of what you're doing with that money. You should have reverence for that money that you're putting at risk. And so you should put the appropriate effort into it to make sure that you're not going to lose it. So one of the tenets that I tell everybody is that you should be 100% focused on preserving that capital, because that's yours. Profits are second.
That is so true.
That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be going after profits. It means that when you do get them, whether they're realized or in your hand, you should do whatever you can to keep them.
Exactly.
It takes effort. Now, where I was going to go that I was wondering whether or not you would be okay with. You had a former career.
Sure.
And you were a detective.
Police detective, yeah.
A police detective. And you had to develop certain skills and expertise, not only in the dealing with miscreants and other people, but also understand human nature, but even more importantly, to protect yourself. For instance, just handling a gun, for instance. That's something that you're hoping you never have to use, but you want to become so skilled at it that if you ever did have to use it, it would be second nature.
That's right. That's right.
So
that is correct.
So I just wanted to throw that out there, that I think that a lot of that training that you had as a professional there, it's to what you brought to the market. Would you agree with that?
I think, I really do believe that. I think I've been able to meet so many wonderful people, and I can remember originally just doing it for fun, making videos just for free and for fun. And it was just a way to help others. And then to recognize, as I started connecting with other people, that on Zoom, that these people are just like me, doctors and lawyers and nurses and engineers and students. And it really is looking at that store of value, as you discussed, and really trying to recognize, is this something that I can make work? It's going to be for some and not for others. But without identifying what that risk is, which is your capital, by the way, if you don't have any capital, then your learning stops, then your motivation to be able to continue with this process, that also ceases as well. And so that's why practice and really taking stock in yourself, really, to be able to learn these processes and not just rush through them and throw away $5,000. You really want to limit your risk. And I think anyone that has been in some sort of trade and recognizes that we all have like trade magazines and industry standards, and this is there for a reason. And we've been there. We're trying to tell people honestly, hey, look, this is hard work. However, if you put in the work and you have a passion and you have the right, yourself, you're the secret sauce. You have the right ability. You can make this work for you. Whether it's a secondary income or fund money or whatever you choose to decide to trade with, that's going to enable you to have this tool. And I think it's a great tool. My dad was a stockbroker. Never once did he ever say in our household, we're going to be rich, we're going to have Lamborghinis and money's falling. We were just I'd have to say, just a regular middle class type of family. And those thoughts, it's never been advertised to me that this was going to be, you were going to just get rich quickly one day. And so I really do, for the people that are out there for the first time, take it seriously. Your capital is serious money. You can see how inflation is infecting us, etc. No, take it seriously and minimize your risk. Learn. I would just suggest learning and gravitating towards some of the skills that you have already that you probably, and by the way, this is not going to be for everyone. You may find out soon enough that you might be just an investor and not a trader. You don't want to actively pursue the markets in this way. And great, good for you that you identified that. And then, as you would say, go fix that problem and start investing more. And you'll just be armed with additional information.
Yeah, and set your expectations correctly because
Oh, yes. That's a great, yeah,
yeah, because so many people think that you just start and then you get the right formula, you get the right strategy, and you go and you start making money. And it's just not that way. It's no more that way than if you were to say learn golf, like you were talking about before. If you want to be competitive, that's one thing. If you want to just get out there and smack balls around, that's another. But even to get
perfect.
out there and smack balls and just to have fun takes a fair amount of work. And it's going to
Yes,
take time before you can even do the most basic things or
that's so
get over the
true.
fact that you have blisters on your fingers.
That is so true. That's a great analogy. I love it. And I used to often say, just getting used to my platform, it took me a really long time from platform to platform to really find the broker that I liked. And so and I'm an expert at thinkorswim. And the funny thing is, every single, and if anybody uses thinkorswim, they know sometimes how complicated it can be. And I remember just thinking to myself, God, if I would have known this, or if I would have used this tool appropriately from the beginning, how much money I would have saved or how much money I would have made. I think by learning from someone that has already done this stuff, hopefully, I think that's what Ernie and I are trying to do is, hey, don't make the mistakes we made. We already made those mistakes. Let me tell you how to get there quicker. And that could really be helpful. I
Was
think
it
that's what coaches do.
I think it was Malcolm Gladwell that said that it requires 10,000 hours before you become an expert at anything.
Oh, wow.
And whether or not that's true or not, I think it's probably accurate. For most people, it takes some level of repetitiveness and time before you start
Absolutely.
really ingraining it. You know that just to change a habit,
Oh,
it takes 6 or 7 weeks before you can
that's right.
literally change a behavior and then adopt a new behavior. The thing about is that's the ultimate way to shortcut the 10,000 hours
Yes.
because
And save
it,
your money
yeah, yeah, exactly. If you had
during
to
the learning
rely
process.
on 10,000 hours be the time that you're actually putting stuff at risk, man, that's a lot of pressure. But if
It
you could
really is.
substitute that with things that where you're not under risk. Now, a lot of people will say, if I'm not under risk, then it's not the same thing, but that's not true. So many
Mhm.
things that you can do, just like I had said before, the muscle memory part is so important.
I
The
believe it.
execution skill, that's one of the things that's great about paper trading. And that it's not so much that you're trying to figure out whether or not you can actually make money paper trading, because anybody can make money paper trading. It's actually going through the motions and developing the skill of actually pushing the button.
That's right. That's a couple points I often tell our members is one of the toughest things sometimes is just to make a decision what you're going to do. But just pushing that button for some reason is the pause that's happening is shouldn't be that way. You should be able to identify your risk, know when you're going to get out, recognize where and when that is, and pull the
Well, it
trigger
comes down
to
to
it.
confidence, I think.
Oh, confidence is so huge in this,
You,
almost in anything, really.
yeah, and you develop that confidence the more you do something.
Yes.
And that's what it really comes down to. And there, not only the more that you do something, but do it right and do it with a clear mind and objectivity. So
Yes.
all of those things that we had mentioned and I had mentioned before, I think, like I said, it's a holistic approach. That's why I take that so seriously. I think that it's really important that you have your mind, your body, your spirit, everything kind of aligned so that when you're doing this practice, that it actually sticks,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
Cool.
And the nice thing too is once you become aware that today's not a good day for you to trade, just based on whatever's happening in your mind, or that you're just unable to focus as an example, or it just doesn't feel right. Time to go enjoy the day. These computers can be addicting, and it's not in a good way. And so sometimes you really, just like with anything, have to have that. And we were talking about this earlier, that life and work balance. And there's got to be times where you just say, today's not the day, go enjoy the day. And I often will say that once I'm looking at the market going, Hey guys, it's choppy out there. Go enjoy the day.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to, maybe this is the final point, that it's a never ending process.
Oh, yeah.
There's always something else that you can do, or you might develop something and it works for a while, and then you'll find that you're getting off and you need a way to reinvigorate that desire, that drive that you
I
need.
would agree with you. Yeah,
Uh,
not everything works all the time. And I think that's where I guess my foundation lies, in my own opinion, is having a couple different types of strategies might help you out with that if something's not working all the time. I do the Batman trade, and I look forward to your updates in what next you're going to be doing because it's always exciting. The other day when you had a winner, I was just like, man, he just got that one good, man. You just nailed that one. So that's always exciting when you get a good one.
yeah, if you looked at my, I just, as a matter of fact, I'm publishing a performance report. And if you looked at my equity curve, and
Yes.
it looks pretty impressive. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I mean, it looks really good. But if you go and you really introspect it and
Yeah.
you look at it, it's going like this, and then sideways like this, and then up, and then sideways, then a little down.
Oh, absolutely.
That sideways part, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't see that. They just see it, the bottom left, top right. But that
Right, right.
sideways part might represent like 20, 30 trades where I'm just going up and down and then start drifting down. And
It's a great point.
yeah, they don't recognize that it's not just going up all the time. You have to
Right.
stick
Yeah,
with
be
the game.
realistic about this. I think it's a great point you make because we keep a tracker as well and we're doing great. What 400 I think over 400% year to date since we started and that was in June of 2022. And
Wow.
we're just doing little trades. One contract at a time is how we track it.
But it's not all peaches and cream.
No,
It's
and that's what's so important
sticking
to
to it.
That's it. And so that's a great point to make because when you're having a bad week, trust me, just go on our trackers and look at one of our weeks
Yeah.
and you're going to say, "Oh, there's a losing trade every single day." Yeah, but that doesn't that one week doesn't take away from all of those calendar days and them combined together, keeping focused, following your trade plan, your rules, and what is that little saying? Carry on, take a breath, or what is that one saying that was popular not too long
I'm
ago?
not into the
Keep
zeitgeist.
calm, keep calm and carry on is
I'm
what
a
the
hobbit. I live in my house with a wife, and I've got land around me. I don't know what the hell's going on out in the real world.
we used to say this in the cop world all the
Uh,
time after 30 years. Keep calm and carry on. And that's what you just got to do. And in trading too, because it can be overwhelming when you have a losing week, you're just starting to feel defeated. You feel like everything that you've learned or you nothing worked this week. Guess what? That's going to happen. That happens in life, that happens in trading, it happens at our work, and you just keep calm and carry on. And the only way that you can actually identify that, by the way, is not just by looking at your trading account, but looking at that journal. And that gives you confidence. I know it gives me confidence when I go, oh God, what, look at the trade plan and go, oh, I'm still doing pretty good. Keep calm, keep calm and carry on, girl. Let's do this. Just gotta one step at a time. So don't get yourself defeated and say something doesn't work. You practice that for a long period of time. And even while you're practicing, it's a great idea to keep a journal, by the way, because
oh yeah.
this is really, don't just do it when you're actually live trading. Do it while you're practicing so that you can identify the areas that you need to strengthen.
Yep.
I'm so glad that you and we're really on the same page when it comes to this. I love that.
Yeah. We've been investigating different journals that we could gather around and use as a group, but it's hard because there's so many that are out there and they have different purposes. Some are very specific to
Mm,
the type of trading. There aren't too many that are just specific to options, for instance. And so I decided that we're developing our own. So I'm developing,
nice.
yeah, this goes back to my IT training. So I've actually designed and architected what I think will be a really great journal for people. And one of the members is a very talented developer. And so he's helping me out with it.
Oh, excellent.
So
I
yeah.
can't wait to see the first of all. The first, is it going to be a like magazine or is it going to be more like a newsletter
No,
or?
it's an app that's built into my website, and it will be specific to the type of trading that we do, so that it will capture your narrative for the day, as well as, remember I had mentioned the 3 questions that you ask yourself and then grade
Yes.
them. It'll also have that in a way to then track it and then
Oh, that's kind of neat. That's
Yeah.
very interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Nice.
Sandra, it is getting at a time where I know the wife is going to be calling me really soon and say, "Hey, we got to go walk the dogs."
Time to go. It's
But
been
I'm
a
really,
pleasure
I,
talking with you. I'm just so happy to network and meet other trading coaches that love the butterfly. And we didn't really get to talk all that much about it, but I certainly hope we get to do this again.
yeah, absolutely. And I've discovered what you're all about. I've talked to you a little bit, but I didn't realize that you got it going on.
Yeah,
Or
Ernie once said when we first met, it was so funny. He's, you look really young. I don't know if you seem all that credible. I'm like, young? Oh my God. I'm 56. I've been a cop for 30 years. I've owned real estate and been a real estate investor. I'm like, I've done a lot. Get me on the phone. Let's talk.
whatever, yeah, whatever you're doing it right.
Oh, so are you, Ernie. I look forward to learning more stuff from you as well.
Thanks, Sandra.
Take care now.
Bye.